Birmingham didn't begin as a grand capital or a port city. It grew from a small market town into one of the most important industrial centers in the world. By the 18th and 19th centuries, its workshops, canals, factories, and railways powered the Industrial Revolution and reshaped everyday life in Britain. In this AI reconstruction, we step through Birmingham's past, from its early streets and churches to crowded markets, smoking skylines, and landmark buildings that define the modern city. If you enjoy these historical reconstructions, subscribe to the channel and comment with your suggestions for the next city or time period you'd like to explore. This engraving by Wenceslaus Holler offers one of the earliest detailed views of Birmingham, published in 1656. At this time, Birmingham was still a modest market town rather than an industrial city. The landscape is dominated by scattered houses, open fields, and dense tree cover, with the church tower rising as the main landmark. Roads cut gently through the countryside, showing how closely the town was tied to rural life. Yet even here, Birmingham's future is quietly visible. Its location on key routes and its growing reputation for skilled metalwork were already setting the foundations for the rapid expansion that would come in the centuries ahead. This detailed street plan by William Westley, surveyed in 1731, shows Birmingham at a crucial turning point in its history. The town is no longer a loose rural settlement, but a dense web of streets, workshops, and courts clustered around its core. You can see how tightly packed the buildings are, reflecting Birmingham's growing population and its expanding role as a center of trade and manufacture. Fields and open land still surround the town, but they are steadily giving way to development, oriented with west at the top. The map also highlights Birmingham's irregular street layout, shaped more by organic growth than formal planning. This view of Birmingham from 1732 captures the town just before everything changed, spread across rolling countryside. Birmingham still looks semi-rural, with church spires rising above clusters of houses, workshops, and narrow streets. Small metalworking shops, forges, and skilled craftsmen filled the town, producing tools, buttons, guns, and hardware for markets. Far beyond the Midlands, the lack of a rigid medieval guild system allowed innovation to flourish, giving Birmingham an unusual flexibility for its time. This image shows a town poised between past and future, moments away from becoming one of the driving forces of the Industrial Revolution. This image shows St. Philip's Church, one of the most important symbols of Birmingham's transformation in the 18th century. Built in the early 1700s, the church stood at the heart of a newly planned area, surrounded by orderly squares, terraces, and tree-lined walks. Unlike the cramped medieval streets nearby, this space reflects confidence, wealth, and urban ambition. St. Philip's was not just a place of worship, but a statement that Birmingham was becoming a modern town, shaped by commerce, industry, and rising middle-class influence. It marks the shift from a market settlement to a structured industrial city. This drawing shows the old shambles at the Bullring, one of Birmingham's busiest and most crowded areas around 1800. These tightly packed timber and brick buildings housed butchers, traders, and small workshops, with market life spilling directly into the street. It was noisy, messy, and constantly active. This was everyday Birmingham, shaped by trade rather than grand planning. While new churches and squares symbolized progress, places like the old shambles reveal how the town actually functioned, dense, practical, and driven by commerce at street level. This scene by David Cox captures Birmingham's high street market at a moment when the town was rapidly expanding. Stalls crowd the street, traders bargain loudly, and shoppers move between carts piled with food and goods. The tall spire of St. Martin's Church rises in the background, anchoring the scene and reminding us how closely commerce and community life were tied together. By the 1820s, Birmingham was no longer a market town serving its hinterland. It had become a regional hub where everyday trade reflected the energy and pressure of an industrializing city. By the mid-19th century, Birmingham had fully entered the industrial age. This view shows a dense townscape packed with workshops, factories, and rows of housing, all framed by tall chimneys pushing smoke into the sky. The skyline reflects a city driven by metalworking, steam power, and constant production. Birmingham was no longer a provincial town. It was an engine of industry, shaped by labor, innovation, and rapid population growth. The opening of Birmingham New Street Station in June 1854 marked a turning point. Its vast iron and glass roof, the largest in the world at the time, symbolized the confidence of the railway age. Inside, steam locomotives, passengers, and porters filled a space built on an unprecedented scale. This station connected Birmingham directly to London and the wider country, cementing its role as a national industrial and transport hub. By the late 19th century, Birmingham had become a fully matured industrial city. This sweeping view shows grand civic buildings rising above tightly packed streets, symbolizing wealth built on manufacturing, trade, and innovation. The smoke-haze distance reminds us that industry was everywhere. Workshops, factories, and offices worked in constant rhythm, powering one of Britain's most productive urban centers. New Street, in 1887, was the commercial heart of the city. Horse-drawn trams, carriages, and crowds filled the roadway, while tall Victorian buildings lined both sides. Shop fronts, hotels, and offices reflected Birmingham's growing middle class and expanding economy. This was a street built for movement, business, and ambition, where industry met everyday life. This wider city view captures Birmingham at its industrial peak. Rows of buildings stretch to the horizon, broken only by church spires and factory chimneys. The orderly streets and dense development show a city planned around work, efficiency, and growth. By this time, Birmingham was no longer just a workshop of the world. It was a modern city shaping the future of urban Britain. By the late 19th century, Birmingham was not only an industrial powerhouse, but also a center for design and craftsmanship. The Birmingham School of Art, shown here around 1890, reflects that ambition. Its solid Gothic Revival architecture was meant to signal seriousness, discipline, and pride in creative skill. The school played a key role in the arts and crafts movement, closely linked to Birmingham's metalwork, jewelry, and manufacturing trades. Students were trained to design objects that were both beautiful and practical, bridging art and industry. In a city driven by factories, this building stood for something equally important: the idea that good design mattered just as much as production.